Hi, this is Matthew, and you've reached the Matthew Show. Just want to make a couple of comments. Now, for months, I've been wanting to say something about COVID. Let's take a look here. What's today? Today's the 12th of April, and the year is 2022, and it's about 20 minutes to 12 here in Chiang Rai, Thailand. A couple of comments I want to make. One is about COVID now. This is the most confusing thing that we've run across. Part of this has to do, a huge part of this has to do with this vagueness that's created by the internet. There's so many different sources of information, and it's not that easy to qualify. You know, who's the source? People have lost faith pretty much in the U.S. government. The pharmaceutical industry has a horrible reputation now. Dr. Fauci, there are people that think the guy, well, they've proven, haven't they, that he's lied about something, his involvement in the Wuhan, funding the Wuhan research and um, what they were doing there. So with so much discrediting, then crazy conspiracy theories can rise up to the equal the level of what should be the CDC, for example, what should be our reference point, what should be the basic truth about what's going on. Do you know if masks make a difference? I know that when surgeons operate, they wear a mask. Everybody in the operating room, you got to wear a mask. Now, maybe that's in case they sneeze, they have bacteria, and the person's body is open and can accept that bacteria. And I haven't researched it, obviously. But my point is this. People say that masks don't work. Maybe they work well in the operating room for certain situations. That's why people do that. That's why they wash their hands. You know, that's why they're really careful and they wear rubber gloves and things like that. Because when they discovered the factor of bacteria in the operating room, they realized people are dying from this, and people can still get septic infections that kill them from the hospital itself, from the bacteria that's there. So I think there's some truth to that. Now, when it comes to wearing a mask here in Thailand, I'm required to wear a mask when I ride my motorcycle. Ride my motorcycle in the countryside. I'm in a small city here, and I'm required to wear a mask. You know, when it's talked about a drop of water in a swimming pool, if you want to dilute something, it would have no effect whatsoever. So when you're breathing and you're on your motorcycle, plus most of the air that you breathe, it goes around the edges of the mask anyway. It doesn't get filtered by the mask. And I've also heard, doesn't it get more and more confusing? I've also heard that the particles of COVID are smaller than the fabric of any mask anyway, regardless. So they can still get through, even if the mask creates a perfect seal around your breathing apparatus. So this is really ridiculous, isn't it? Vaccines, do they work? I got vaccines as a kid. We had, what was it, smallpox or 3D measles, German measles, we called one of them. Now you can't get away with that because some sensitive people will say, don't call it German measles. Chinese go crazy about that, and that's part of their culture. You can't call it the China virus, although some people do. Some people call it the Wuhan virus because that's where it originated, or at least that's where we are most aware of it originated. By the way, my good buddy there, Russell Brand, I saw a video of his this morning, and he talks about all the cover-up in Wuhan and how the records were lost and erased. And this is very, very typical of not only the Chinese government, but especially the Chinese government, but other governments do that too. And there are a lot of reports of what the US government has done as far as just losing records, like on 9/11, lost all the records where all the money was gone. You know, what was it, trillions of dollars they reported the day before was missing in the military budget. And then suddenly an airplane hits the records room and all of that information is lost. But who do we trust? I think now one progress of the American people, one sign of progress is they're getting less and less, they have less and less trust, less and less faith in what the US government has to say. And I think that's well founded. I mean, they still won't release records on the assassination of JFK. Here's another interesting point. Edward Snowden being interviewed a while back by Joe Rogan. Edward Snowden, this guy's was privy to all kinds of information. And I don't know if he did a very specific search, but according to the way he was talking, he was saying everywhere, in every department, everything he was privy to, there was no indication that there were any lies about aliens. Now, there are some people that say there are aliens from other planets that are working in underground bunkers with the US military or the US government, and they're walking around and talking just like human beings, but they're aliens with big eyes and spindly arms and things like that. In fact, they define the different kinds of aliens. I think if anybody would know about that, it would be Edward Snowden. If there was any truth to that, he would have blown that wide open. I think Trump probably would have done that too when he was in office, if he was privy to that information. But you don't know for sure, right? Because the nature of the way humanity is organized right now, with the politicians and the different tiers of government, to where they don't want to tell people the truth. The Pentagon Papers during the Vietnam War are a perfect example of that. How the government can control the narrative on any situation, whether it's COVID, aliens, or the fact that the US lost the war in Vietnam and they were losing. But all the reports came through it. And all of the sheeple that work for the government, you want to keep your job, right? So this money is the linchpin, right? To keep people ignorant, to keep people controlled so they don't report anything. Thousands and thousands of American citizens that worked for the US government lied by not exposing what was really going on in Vietnam. You think that ended there and then? No. Your average person doesn't have the courage, doesn't have the integrity, and is too afraid to lose their job, go to jail or whatever. So they'll lie. They'll go along with whatever's going on, whether it's lies in the office. I remember I became maybe I ended up lying when I was in charge of computer systems in a hospital. And the women that were working in the hospital, this was a home health department, and they had computers there. And one woman was pregnant. And at the time we had CRTs, cathode ray tubes, types of monitors. In other words, this is the kind of monitor, not like an LCD, or LED, these would give off radiation. And so there was a concern, and I had read some articles about maybe that could cause some problems with the baby if you're pregnant, you're sitting in front of a computer all day. And so I got a shield for her, a shield that goes over the screen. And but we played it down in general so that all the other nurses that were there, they didn't get a shield because the boss didn't want to pay for it. If you let this information out, it affects your money. Remember, again, money is the linchpin. Money holds this slavery, this ignorance, this corruption, holds it in place. Money. It's all about the money because people don't want to lose their jobs. Then it can even become about the power too, where people get thrown in jail to get silenced. People disappear mysteriously. So Russell Brand, if you have a chance to watch what he exposes about that in one of his many podcasts, it's amazing how the cover up in Wuhan. So does it work to wash your hands? Well, it works. They do it in the hospital, and there's no big conspiracy that I've ever heard that's come out about that. So I think there's some effectiveness to a certain degree in certain situations, but nuance can become totally missing. If it's more important to you to watch reality TV, some people, some celebrities with big butts fighting on TV, if that becomes more important to you, well, why wouldn't it? Because it becomes so darn complicated. Now, the project that I'm working on, this 5 steps project, it has to do with creating a community center where people can evaluate information, people can openly share information, where people can get educated how to live in this world. We don't really have that. We don't have a place that is designed specifically to empower people, make sure they get the nutrition and the safety, make sure they get the education and the job opportunities that can help them to thrive and actualize as a human being. And a place that would take care of people that are unable to take care of themselves, like the infirm, the elderly, babies, youngsters that need to be watched in a safe place and taken care of while their parents go to work. But this is a real hard sell. I mean, most people, I don't even know what they think. They just don't think about it. They haven't spent the 50 years, that I have trying to understand, well, what's the solution? How do you solve this problem? So even if you have a good solution, even if you know the truth, even if you know a way to solve these problems, a lot of times, unless the time is right, unless you're lucky, unless you have the right friends in the right places, some of the best solutions, some of the best ideas, some of the real truth gets lost. COVID is an actual great example. People are still debating. People are still debating the basics. There's some people that are saying COVID doesn't exist at all. And these aren't stupid people, but they may be misinformed, or maybe the way you look at the situation. So with the internet, there's too much information. It's information overload. And when it comes to conspiracy theories or ideas about 9/11, for example, I mean, 9/11 is a ridiculous example of how the truth, what happened, has been covered up, and then a lot of crazy stories have been added in. So the whole thing has become really confusing to a lot of people. It's amazing. And this is 2001, right? So this is in our modern day, when we have the internet, when we have the ability to communicate, when we have the ability to share the truth. The powers that be still can control that narrative. My name's Matthew. Thanks for watching The Matthew Show. Right now, what time is it? It's about 9 minutes to 12 noon here in Chiang Rai, Thailand. On the 12th of April, 2022, have a wonderful day. I love you.